Daisy must have seen Rowdy and me coming up through our fields, 'cause she was standing on the porch when we came walking up. With a frown on her face, she peered at us. Letting out a low whistle, she said, "Holy smokes, Jay Barry, what happened to you and Rowdy? Both of you look like you've been run through a briar patch." "Aw, Daisy, didn't anything happen to us. We just had a little fight with those monkeys. They bit us up a few times, that's all." "A few times? It doesn't look like a few times to me. It looks like those monkeys just about ate you up this time." Before I could say anything else, Daisy turned and hollered through the open door to the house, "Mama, Mama, come and look at Jay Barry and Rowdy. They're chewed all to pieces and there's blood all over them." This time Mama must have been peeling potatoes when she heard Daisy yell, 'cause she still had one in her hand when she came flying out the door, scared half to death. "Blood," Mama said in a quavering voice, looking at Daisy. "Who's bleeding?" "Jay Barry and Rowdy, Mama," said Daisy, as she pointed with her hand. "Look at them. They look like they've been run through a briar patch." With more scare in her eyes than I had ever seen before, Mama looked at me and said, Jay Barry, are you all right?" "Oh, Mama, you know how Daisy is. She's just trying to make something big out of nothing. I'm all right. I just got bit a few times by those monkeys, that's all." Looking up towards the heavens, Mama closed her eyes and muttered something no one could have understood. Daisy came over, took hold of my arm, and started looking at my monkey bites, shaking her head, making a little clicking noise with her tongue. She said, "Jay Barry, I'm scared. I'm scared half to death." "Scared? What are you scared of? Monkeys didn't bite you." "I don't care," Daisy said. "I'm scared just the same. We don't know anything about monkeys. For all we know, they might have hydrophobia." I wanted to say something, but I couldn't get my mouth open. My stomach got all knotted up, and I shivered a little like I was having a cold chill. I looked to Mama for some help. Mama couldn't help anyone right then. She was just as scared as I was. She just stood there staring at me with her face as white as a hen's egg. Her mouth open, and I thought she was going to say something, but nothing came out. People in the Cherokee Hills were so scared of hydrophobia, they didn't talk about it in a loud voice. They usually spoke about it in a whisper. When news spread the hills that a mad animal was prowling, people started locking windows and doors. Everywhere the menfolk went, they carried shotguns and rifles until the mad animal was taken care of. Children were kept indoors. All the stock was brought into the barn lot. While hanging around Papa's store, I heard some weird tales about animals and people that had gone mad with hydrophobia. How they had froth at the mouth and their eyes had turned as green as cucumbers. In the dark night, they would prowl through the country, howling and moaning and biting everything that got close to them. It was enough to scare a fellow clean out of his britches. Daisy saw that she had me paralyzed with fear, and she started carrying on again. "Mama, there's but one thing we can do. We'll just have to chain him and Rowdy to a fence post." That seemed to shake some of the scare out of Mama. "Chain him to a fence post," she said in a loud voice. "Why, Daisy, what on earth are you saying?" "That's all we can do, Mama. That's all you can do with anything that's going mad. You got to chain them to a fence post and watch them. If their eyes turn green, they start foaming at the mouth and biting things, then you know they're mad. It wouldn't do any good to tie him with a rope. If he does go mad, he'll gnaw right through it." Daisy had me scared now. I could almost feel myself frothing at the mouth and snapping at everything that got close to me. I think I would have gone mad for sure if Papa hadn't come walking up about that time. Frowning, Papa looked at Mama and said, "What's the matter? You look like you seen a ghost." Before Mama could say anything, Daisy popped up and said, "It's Jay Barry again, Papa. He really got himself into a mess this time. He and Rowdy had a fight with those monkeys and got bitten all over. For all we know, they might have hydrophobia." "Papa, they think I'm going mad and they're talking about chaining me to a fence post." Papa chuckled and said, "I don't think we'll have to do anything like that. The monkeys belong to a circus, and they came in contact with people every day. They've probably been vaccinated for all kinds of diseases. A big circus like that wouldn't have taken a chance on having a bunch of sick monkeys around." Papa didn't know it, but he practically brought me back from the grave. I began to feel a little better, but not much. Regardless of what Papa had said, Daisy wasn't convinced I wasn't going mad. Just the same, I'm not taking any chances. I'm going to keep my eye on him. And I'm locking the door to my room every night. If he goes mad, I don't want him sneaking in and biting me. Oh, for heaven's sake, Mama said. That will be enough of that, young lady. You shouldn't be saying things like that. Papa said, I think the best thing to do right now is to get something on the monkey bites. They could get infected. I think so too, said Mama. Daisy said, Mama, you doctor Jayberry and I'll take care of Rowdy. He wouldn't bite me even if he was going mad. Mama went in the house and came back with some clean rags, a bottle of peroxide, and some iodine. Every time Mama dabbed me those bites with peroxide, I would have a dancing fit. But when she started putting that iodine on me, I yipped and hopped all over the place. By the time she was done, I felt like I had been boiled in a wash pot. All the time Mama was doctoring me, I could hear Daisy cooing and talking to old Rowdy. He was whimpering and whining and licking Daisy's hands and begging her not to put that stinging, burning stuff on him. Daisy was a little more artistic with her doctoring than Mama. She wrapped Rowdy's monkey bites with all kinds of bright-colored rags and tied them in bow knots. When she was done, he looked like a Christmas package. He took one look at himself and was so disgusted with what he saw, he scooted under the house. I couldn't help laughing just a little. The next morning, I was so sore and stiff I couldn't get out of bed and make it to the breakfast table. I was lying there feeling sorry for myself and thinking about all that money down in the bottoms, hopping around in those sycamore trees when Mama, Papa, and Daisy came to my room. Papa looked at me and said, How do you feel? I don't feel so good, Papa. I feel sore and stiff as an old hound dog that's been chasing a fox all night. Daisy giggled and said, Jayberry, if you think you're in bad shape, you should see old Rowdy. He's so sore and stiff, he can't even wiggle his tail. He wouldn't come out from under the house to eat his breakfast. With a concerned look on her face, Mama reached over and placed a hand on my forehead. Why, Jayberry, I think you have a fever. I think you forget about hunting, monkey catching, and stay in bed for a few days. The way I was feeling, I didn't even argue with Mama. As if getting eaten by the monkeys was the most wonderful things that had happened to our family, Daisy squealed her delight. Mama, if you're going to make him stay in bed for a few days, then I'll practice my Red Cross nursing on him again. When I heard Daisy mention that Red Cross nursing business, I started getting out of bed. Oh, no, you won't. You're not practicing any of that stuff on me. I'm not sick enough to go through that again. Placing both hands on my shoulders, Mama pushed me back down into the bed and said, You just stay put, young man. Somebody has to doctor you, and besides, your little sister is a pretty good nurse. I wanted to argue, but I knew it was useless. To win an argument with both Mama and Daisy was unheard of. I put up with that misery. I prayed that misery would only last a couple days, and I could put up with anything that long. This Red Cross nursing business had popped up about a year back when I had the mumps, and Daisy had read me a story about a Red Cross nurse. From that day she read that story, Daisy was bound and determined that when she grew up, she was going to be a Red Cross nurse. She saved him enough money to order some material that was the same color as the Red Cross nurses' uniforms. With Mama's help, she made a uniform complete with an armband and a dinky little hat. It got to be a common sight to see Daisy fluttering around in her nurse's uniform, doctoring everything that was sick. And a lot of things that weren't sick at all. She took care of the pigs, chickens, calves, cats, birds, Rowdy, me, and everything else you could think of. She took care of all my busted toes, scratches, some bruises and boils. If I came down with a bad cold or the flu, Daisy would put on her uniform and go to work. I never saw anything like it. Mama, do you think we could get old Rowdy into Jayberry's room? If we had both of them in the same room, it'd sure help a lot. That way I could watch both of them at the same time. Mama smiled and said, I don't know about that. If Rowdy is so sore and stiff as you say, the only way we could move him would be to carry him, and that old hound is pretty heavy. Mama, we could put him in the wheelbarrow and roll him in. We might be able to do that, said Mama, nodding her head. I felt sorry for Rowdy. There wasn't a thing in the world I could do. I didn't figure they could catch him anyway. But I was wrong. It wasn't long before I heard the screeching of our old wheelbarrow coming through the house. With Rowdy about half in the barrel, and half hanging out, they wheeled him into the room. Daisy made a pallet for him over in the corner. The next time Daisy entered my room, she was all decked out in her nurse's uniform. It was starched as stiff as a gingerbread man. She had a tray in her hands. To me, it looked like she had all the medicine we had in the house in it. There was liniment, Raleigh salve, iodine, peroxide, castor oil, all kinds of clean rags torn in strips, several boxes of pills, and a half glass full of alcohol with a thermometer in it. Good morning. How are my patients this fine morning? Aw, Daisy, you don't have to say that. You were here 5 minutes ago. I know, but that's the way nurses do it. Looking up at the ceiling and talking to myself, I said, Brother, if I come out of this alive, I'll be lucky. Ignoring my remark, Daisy set the tray on the small table in the room and started looking over her supplies. Let's see now. I think I have just about everything I need right now. Rearing up on my elbows, I said, Daisy, if you think I'm going to take all that stuff, you're crazy. I'd be dead before the sun goes down. If she were the best doctor in the whole world, Daisy said, Oh, I don't think you'll have to take all of it, J. Barry, but I won't just know what medicine you'll need until I examine you. Taking the thermometer, Daisy gave it a good shaking. Walking over and dabbed it in my mouth. She felt my pulse, changed all the bandages on my monkey bites, and washed my face with a cool rag. Then she lit into Rowdy. She changed all of his bandages, washed his face, and got him a pillow to lay his head on. I had to admit that Daisy was a pretty good nurse, but it always made me feel uncomfortable lying there with her fussing around me that way. The first time Daisy brought me a glass of water, I was thirsty and drank every drop. 5 minutes later, she brought me a second glass. I drank it too. 5 minutes later, she brought me a third glass. I drank it just to please her. It didn't seem like I had hardly drunk the third glass when she came with a fourth one. By this time, I was pretty well watered. I refused to drink it. With a scared look on her face, Daisy stepped back and said, J. Barry, are you sure you don't want any more water? Sure, I'm sure. What's the matter with you? Before I knew what was taking place, Daisy yelled, Mama, you better come here right now. Mama came running, scared half out of her wits. What's wrong now? With a sorrowful look, Daisy said, I think we better get the chains, Mama. He just quit drinking water, and you know what that means. No, I'm afraid I don't know what that means. What does it mean? He's going mad, Mama. That's what it means. I looked up the word hydrophobia in the dictionary, and it said plainly that anything going mad refuses to drink water. He just quit drinking. I figured it was about the time for me to say something, or I would surely have to drink the well dry or be chained to a fence post. Mama, I haven't quit drinking water. I just can't drink any more. She brought me a glass of water every 5 minutes for a half an hour. I had so much water now I feel like a spring. Glancing at the glass of water Daisy held in her hand, Mama smiled and said, I think we can forget about the chain for a while. It may be that you're overdoing this water drinking. Rowdy put up with Daisy's nursing for 1 day. Then he hopped out the window, went back under the house, and he refused to come out for anyone. It was 3 days before I saw sunshine again, and I was never so happy in all my life. I was burning up with monkey catching fever and couldn't wait to get after him again. On the morning of the fourth day, I got my net and called to Rowdy, Come on, boy, let's go to the store and have another talk with Grandpa. Rowdy started out from under the house, but he never came all the way out, just his head. On seeing the net in my hand, he turned around and he went back. I saw right away that between Daisy's nursing and those monkeys, Rowdy had it. Getting down on my knees, I peered under the house. I could see Rowdy way back in the corner. Come on, boy. I'm not going monkey hunting. I'm going to the store. Don't you want to come? I could hear a lot of tail thumping, whimpering, and whining, but Rowdy still refused to come out. I begged and I pleaded. I promised him everything from fried rabbit to red squirrel stew. It did no good. Disgusted and feeling terrible, I took off down the road for Grandpa's house. I hadn't gone far when here came Rowdy, wiggling all over and tickled to death. Once he had seen I wasn't going to the bottoms with those monkeys, he was willing to come along. You should be ashamed of yourself, Rowdy. A great big dog like you scared of little old monkeys? I really didn't mean what I had said to Rowdy, because way down deep, I was just as scared as those monkeys as he was. But I was determined to catch every last one of them. Grandpa must have been expecting me because just before I got to the store, he came onto the porch and looked down the road. On seeing me, he sat down on his favorite chair and he waited. As I walked, he peered over his glasses and he said, "Well, how'd it go?" "It didn't go good, Grandpa," I said as I leaned up the next door. I leaned the net up against the store. "Didn't it work?" "Yeah, it worked, Grandpa. It worked like you said it would. I caught two of the little monkeys, but they got away." "How'd that happen?" "I don't know how it happened, Grandpa. One minute I had two in the net, and the next minute they were gone. I was pretty busy at the time, didn't exactly see what had happened." "Busy?" Grandpa arched his eyebrows. "What were you doing?" "I was fighting monkeys, Grandpa. That's what I was doing. They were eating Rowdy and me up. Look." Stepping close to Grandpa, I showed him the scabbed over monkey bites on my arms and legs. Grandpa looked over me. He let out a long whistle. "Boy, they sure got a hold of you, didn't they? Did it hurt?" "Hurt? I'll say it hurt. It made me sick. I've been in bed for 3 days. I never so sore and stiff all my life. You think a squirrel can bite? You ought to get bit by a monkey." "How'd it happen? Tell me about it." I told Grandpa everything that had happened from the time I jerked the blue ring on the net until the monkey got away. I ended by saying, "I don't believe those monkeys can be caught." "Oh, yes, they can. You just remember what I said to you about animals. There was never one that couldn't be caught. And always keep more than one iron in the fire." "I know, Grandpa, but I'm afraid if things keep going like they have, we're going to run out of irons and the fire's going to go out." Grandpa laughed. He got up from his chair and said, "Come here. I got something to show you." I followed Grandpa into the store and watched while he reached up on a shelf and picked up an envelope. "Wave it in front of my face," Grandpa grinned. "You know what this is?" I shook my head. "It's a letter from an animal trainer down in Florida. He's the fellow that trains animals for that circus. He trained that $100 monkey." "He did? He must be a darn good trainer because that's the smartest monkey in the world. I didn't see him do it, but I'm pretty sure that while those other monkeys were chewing on Rowdy and me, he sneaked in and let those two in the net out." "I wouldn't doubt it. He's smart enough. You know that monkey has a name?" "A name? Who ever heard of a monkey having a name?" I never gave it much thought, but after I read this letter, I got to thinking practically all animals have names. Take your old milk cow. Her name's Sally Gooden. Your dad's mules are named Fred and George. My buggy mares are named Molly and Bertie. "I know, but the monkey's not tame. He's as wild as a hoot owl." "I don't think that monkey is as wild as you think he is. Once an animal has been tamed, he doesn't ever forget it." "What's his name?" "According to the trainer, they call him Jimbo," Grandpa said. "Jimbo?" I said, laughing out loud. "Who ever heard of a name like that? Anyhow, that's his name." "Grandpa, what good's that going to do, knowing his name?" "It might do a good. That trainer says that if you could make friends with that monkey, he would probably do anything you wanted him to do." "Make friends with him, Grandpa? I don't think that trainer knows what he's talking about. You couldn't make friends with that monkey in 100 years. "I don't know," Grandpa said. "That trainer seems to think you could, and he should know. He says to offer him something to eat, call him by name, talk to him. It might be worth a try. After all, you've everything to gain and nothing to lose." "Nothing to lose, Grandpa? If I got close enough to that monkey to offer him something to eat, I could lose my arm. He's got teeth like a pitchfork." "Oh, I don't think you have to worry about that," Grandpa said. From what you've told me, he's about the only monkey in the bunch that hasn't tried to bite you." Thinking back to everything that had happened, I realized Grandpa was right. By golly, Grandpa, you're right. That Jimbo monkey hasn't tried to bite either Rowdy or me. But he sure doesn't mind sicking those little monkeys onto a fella. You still think that Jimbo monkey is the leader of the pack? "Oh, I know he is, Grandpa. Those little monkeys won't do a thing until he tells them to." "That's fine. If you could make friends with Jimbo and get him to follow you, that little monkey would probably follow him. And you might be able to lead that whole caboodle right into the corn crib." Grandpa made everything sound so simple, and I was feeling so good I would have been willing to try to make friends with a grizzly bear. But there were a few things in my mind that I needed to get straightened out. "Grandpa, I know that Jimbo monkey hasn't tried to bite me, but I still can't believe he's looking for any friends. In fact, I believe he's got it in for Rowdy and me. He sure acts like it. Nah, I don't think Jimbo has it in for anybody. His trainer said he likes people, especially youngsters. He probably thinks you've been playing games with him. Another thing, Grandpa, what could I say to that monkey to make friends with him? I don't know how to talk to a monkey. Try talking to him like you do to Rowdy. Offer him an apple. Call him by name. Don't act like you're trying to catch him. Just act like you're trying to be friends. You really think it'll work, Grandpa? Yeah, you can never tell. It's worth a try. I thought a second. I said, okay, Grandpa, I'll give it a try. If I thought I could catch those monkeys, I'd be willing to try anything. I sure want that pony in 22, and this is the only chance I'll ever have to make enough money to get him. Looking at the sun, Grandpa said, it's early yet. I think you have time to try it out today. I'm going to, Grandpa, just as soon as I get home. Grandpa, how come that animal trainer wrote to you? Grandpa grinned and said, that's one of those extra irons I was telling you about. I wrote a letter to those circus people and got an answer from the animal trainer. I smiled. I said, I figured it was something like that. Grandpa, I don't know how I can ever pay you back for all you've done for me. I'll tell you how you can pay me back. Just catch those monkeys and I'll be well paid. Now, if you can't make friends with that monkey, don't bother. Don't let it bother you too much. If this doesn't work, we'll try something else. Grandpa, if I can't make friends with that monkey, it won't be my fault because I'll be trying. I just hope no one sees me down in those bottoms talking to a monkey. They'd put me in the crazy house, sure as shooting. Grandpa laughed. Oh, I don't think anything like that's going to happen. You wouldn't sound half as bad as talking to a monkey as some of these farmers do talking to their mules. I laughed. I said, I know what you mean, Grandpa. Sometimes I listen to Papa talking to our mules while he's working them. If I was a mule and somebody yelled gee and ha at me all day, I wouldn't do anything. I'd have a runaway every 15 minutes. You gotta let animals know who the boss is or they'll take advantage of you. Well, I better be on my way. I'm anxious to see if I can make friends with that monkey. I am too. Let me know how it comes out. Chapter 8.